Welcome to Digital Business Management. I'm Dave Starkey and I'm going to be taking you through this topic. This is the fourth lecture in the Enterprise Systems and Processes series. So we'll look at the enterprise system elements that we've been hanging things around. So we started off with planning, looked at, and we're going to look at some ERP markets in this section. And then I'm going to talk about ERP and the real-time business a little bit in this section, looking at SAP but also other vendors as well, like Oracle for example, in the enterprise system space. So we're typically in the planning area, mostly in this session. So there are two parts to this. I'm going to actually make a video of part A first, and then I'll give you a separate video for part B. A is the background to ERP and B is modern digital management systems. So in this lecture, in the blue part, the part A, we're going to look at what are enterprise systems, the pros and cons of them, new ERP implementations. We'll look at the ERP market for tier 1, that's the big vendors, and then the other tier 2 and tier 3, we'll talk briefly about those. We'll look at the ERP market leader, SAP, in a bit more detail, and then types of SAP ERP, going back a little bit from where we are now, and also looking at legacy solution maps and industry packages. And at that point I'll finish the first video and there'll be a second video for all that stuff in green there, so I'll introduce that next time. So digital business management, background to ERP. What are enterprise systems? Well, here's a typical ERP system. It covers finance and accounting, human resources, manufacturing, production planning, supply chain management, project management, and customer relationship management. So another more detailed description of what ERP is you can see here there are effectively two tracks. You've got on the right hand side the kind of manufacturing side of things in a place that makes bicycles, for example. Remember, our case studies are all based around Global Bike Incorporated, GBI, where they make bikes in that company. So if we start off on the right hand side, in the planning area we have product design, we have construction, so maybe you're making a prototype, we have work scheduling, deciding what part of the work has got to go to what part of the shop. We've got numerically controlled and CNC, computer numerically controlled programming, which goes directly to machines on the shop floor that punch things, machine things, maybe 3D printers, and welding robots and that kind of thing. Then we go to transport control, which is a kind of office that controls the distribution network. Warehouse control, controlling where stock is kept. You've got assembly control for controlling what happens on the shop floor, etc., and plant maintenance. And plant maintenance is a very important part of asset management. There's quite a lot of computerized asset management available. You can see the systems. You've got computer-aided engineering, CAE, CAD for computer-aided design, computer-aided planning, and then you've got CAM, computer-aided manufacture. On the other side, we have those things that we need to keep track of. So in production planning, we have order control, and you'll be doing some case studies on sales and distribution, SD. There's also costing, which comes into what's called CO. Planning independent requirements, that's in the production planning area. Materials management, that's procurement. Then you've got capacity minimization and leveling, that's back in production control, production planning, and then order release, again in production planning. So quite a lot in the production planning case study, which is the third one we look at. after sales and distribution and materials management. We're of course using S4HANA in the lab. In this one I'm going to talk about the preceding versions. And then we have plant data collection, control, quantities, times, looking at how quickly things go through the shop. And what goes through the shop are bills of materials, which are the designs that are going to be built, routings, which decide what's going to be sent round to different places in the shop, and other resources like production tools and jigs that enable something to be made. So quite a complex process. This is what we call enterprise resource planning. Modern enterprise systems and processes facilitate the digital management of business. That's what we're saying there. Optimizing the way a business operates, including how it interacts with big data and technology, has become core to serving customers and maximizing profits. So, A2, the pros and cons of new ERP implementations. So I took this from a report by a well-known consultancy, and I've put a link to that well-known consultancy in the Moodle site for this section, so have a look there. So ERP is good, and typically is it successful? So reasons for implementing ERP: 49% replace out-of-date ERP software, 16% replace homegrown systems like spreadsheets and cobbled together coded systems, 15% replace accounting software, 20% replace non-ERP systems or they had no true system. But by far the biggest is replacing a legacy system. The implementation outcomes, you can see that success in 57% of cases, failure in 7% of cases, and 36% is a don't know, which usually means partially successful. So quite a lot of success, but if you hear people talk about ERP, they'll still say occasionally there are big failures. So we will look at why these things fail and how you can implement them properly in a separate section. So vendors, you can decide on looking at which ones are shortlisted most often, and you can see that in the on the right hand side here, SAP is shortlisted in 41% of cases, followed by Oracle and Microsoft Dynamics, Epicor and Infor. Those are the five big ones. Being most frequently shortlisted is one thing, having a good result from that software is another, of course. So we need to be aware that there are other softwares available, such as NetSuite, which is now part of Oracle, Plex Systems, Sage do a lot of accounting and ERP packages, Syspro, etc. So looking at the big tier 1 vendors, which is SAP, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics and Infor, these percentages have changed somewhat in that Oracle's lost some market share and Infor has picked some up, and Microsoft Dynamics has lost some actually in the most recent, this was going back to 2015, but the latest one's slightly different. But it gives you an idea of the percentages. So you can see that SAP is the market leader in the ERP space. It's shortlisted most often. It's selected most often after shortlisting. It has a reasonable implementation duration, one of the higher costs of ownership. The payback time though is quite quick, which is obviously a good thing when you want to get return on investment. And the percentage realizing 50% or more benefits is 21%. So that shows that they're 21% of all those cases shows that they are good value for money. Was there disruption at go live? In other words, when you are ready to go live, how much disruption was there? And you can see that the most disruption was with Microsoft Dynamics. The least disruption was Infor, but then Infor maybe less powerful. So there's a balance there to think about. ERP benefits. So there are things that can improve lead time and improved inventory levels, improved interaction with customers, reduce direct operating and or labour costs, increased interaction across the enterprise. This is the thing which I'm going to focus on more in the second video. Availability of information, much more available, so another great benefit. Overall experiences with ERP vendors. You can see that a lot of people were satisfied, 42, very satisfied, 12%, so 54% satisfied or very satisfied. Neutral was 36, so perhaps those are ongoing projects that aren't fixed, and then you can see that there are some smaller groups of people that are quite unhappy with their outcomes. In terms of payback periods, getting the benefit return on investment, you can see that 13% of SAP customers got their payback in less than a year, 25% 1 to 2 years, 13% 3 years or greater, and 13% no recoups costs. And when you look at Microsoft Dynamics, it actually is taking 43% of those customers. It's taking them 3 years or greater to get return on investment, and 29% don't get any return at all. So you can see that perhaps SAP and Oracle have some advantages there, but certainly SAP, this is one of the reasons they're the market leader in terms of payback. You get a good bang for your buck. Looking at cloud and ERP, moving to the cloud, SAP, these figures are out of date actually, and now you would find that there was much more cloud licensing going on because SAP has really hammered its ERP into the cloud as quickly as you can get it there. Oracle have done some acquisitions like buying NetSuite to try and have that happen, but they've got some integration issues. So SAP has done much better than that suggests in terms of hosted in the cloud revenues. And why they're good is because they tend to be subscription based, and lots of companies would like repeatable revenue and not based on selling big licenses at regular intervals. So there's cost savings from cloud usage. You can see that 0 to 20% of the time, cost savings 0 to 20% is in the blue there. 44% of people, 27% of those surveyed got cost savings of 21 to 40%. 4% there got over 80% cost savings. So you can see that there is scope for making a big difference to your company in terms of reducing costs with an ERP system. Some ERP myths. The ideal customization is about 10 to 20%. That's what's being recommended by Panorama Consulting there. So you don't have to spend a lot of time customizing your system, and if you do, you have lots of customization, then the result of that is that when you come up to a new license release, you'll have a devil's own job getting the system configured because of all the customization you've already done. Reasons for not implementing cloud ERP. Well, there's a risk of a security breach, a lack of information and knowledge about it, and the risk of data loss. But typically today's cloud solutions for ERP are very much grounded in security, as they have to be, because otherwise SAP would lose a lot of customers if they had a big data breach. Use of consultants. You need to be careful how much you use consultants. Consultants and budget overspends. You have to make sure that you keep track of what your consultants are doing and you only use them for the right thing. Don't let them get out of control, etc. So reasons why you might use consultants: managing an implementation, being a strategic partner from planning to implementation, conduct software selection, provide organisational change support. So some of the softer issues, but also looking at software that you might use. They might lead the selection, but you need to be on top of it as well. Overages, overspending and overruns. So you can see that 11% on the right hand side here. The ERP project duration went 76% went over schedule. So 11% of those who went 76% over schedule. On schedule, 39%, and 4% actually managed to get the projects in less time than they planned. So there are reasons why that might be. It might be that you've expanded the scope of the project when you should have gone to a separate project for the expansion. Unanticipated technical organisational issues, underestimated project staffing, additional technology requirements, unrealistic budgets, consulting fees rose as project schedules slipped, underestimated consulting fees, and various other reasons for budget overages. But that also leads to some problems in implementation. What's called scope creep is an important thing. We'll talk about that in a later lecture. So what things that delay to some of the completions would be data issues, the expanded project scope creep, organisational issues, technical issues, unrealistic timelines, priority conflicts, etc. Recovering the cost of ERP. You can see that there are some people 5 years or more 6% of the total haven't recouped it's taken them 5 years to recoup their costs, and there's that blue section there. 18% haven't recouped their costs, etc. So this was a survey done in 2016. So change management. So what this is saying, you need to bear in mind that you need to have some change management in place. People with soft skills who are good at getting people together, like a change agent. And it may be that also you can improve business processes using business process improvement. But ERP systems tend to do that job for you. They've got the business processes built in, and you then change your business to match those processes. That's the best way to do it. But change management is very important to keep people educated about what's happening with a project and bring them along with it and not have them oppose it. So in A3, we're going to look at the ERP market, Tier 1 vendors and Tiers 2 and 3. So the biggest company, you've got Microsoft as the biggest software company, followed by Oracle as their headquarters in Redwood City, California. And then after that you have SAP. So you'll find there are videos in this series. I'm not going to play them as I go through making this video because it would just be unproductive in terms of resources, but you can go and play this as a presentation as I'm doing now, and then you'll be able to play the videos, etc. So Oracle's core, they have a core product database called 12C, unless the latest, it may be up to 13C now, I'm not absolutely sure. That's their core database. It's what they've made all their money on. They were really known for the Oracle database. And then you have digital engagement. So the kind of thing like customer relationship management, customer engagement, that's where everything's going. If we look over the years, Oracle has basically grown through acquisition. So it acquired JD Edwards and PeopleSoft. Siebel CRM was one of the major CRM groups. Hyperion in 2008, which enterprise performance management software. Agile product lifecycle management they took in. Dementra, I'm not sure what software that is actually. And then they started building Oracle Fusion. So Oracle Fusion is their on-premise, and they've been integrating all those acquisitions together. So moving towards Oracle Fusion. So Oracle Fusion apps, you've got to have an app for all those different things, and there's some links there if you want to go and play about and see what those products are like. They have a cloud-based set of applications. Go and play those options. You can just see I've just looked at their website and opened one of the applications there. On the right hand side you can see a typical company using one of the Oracle, that's an Oracle ERP cloud service being in operation. So effectively you've got some accounting happening in a reporting center online there, cloud based. There's the Oracle Cloud, you can learn about that there. And then in 2016 they bought NetSuite for $9.3 billion. NetSuite has always been cloud only, and it's for the small end of the market, so small to medium sized businesses. You can see what it looks like in terms of its form on the bottom right there. That's a kind of typical for Gill Incorporated. This is their manager's dashboard by the look of it. So that's the kind of products that Oracle do. Microsoft Dynamics is another tier 1 vendor. Their Dynamics 365 is a kind of composite cloud-based version of all their different acquisitions, which originally they weren't going to bring together into one area. You can still have Great Plains, Navision, Solomon and Exapta on-premise versions. But if you want the cloud-based version, Dynamics 365 is what they've been pushing. You can see what it looks like on the on the right-hand side there, that's Exapta. So that's their top-of-the-range ERP system. That's what it looks like. So you can see there's some project management there. There's various dashboards, etc. So that's in there, looking at their project space. But you've got the tabs down the left-hand side, etc. So thinking about Tier 2 and Tier 3 ERP companies, there are lists on the Panorama Consulting Solutions website, so you can go and have a look at those. There are links to those pages, assuming that they're still correct. They were correct about a month ago, but Panorama has just brought out a new website, so that may be changed now. Almost certainly it is. So you just go to the Panorama home page and then look for Tier 2 and Tier 3 vendors. You'll find the list of all the different companies that do this software. So in A4 we're going to look at the market leader, SAP SE. It actually has now over 300,000 customers. It's headquartered in Waldorf. That's all their campus there. Basically Waldorf is a village which is dominated by SAP, as it is St Leon-Rot, which is the next village south, just peppered with SAP buildings. They now employ 95,000 people, which has risen from about 75,000 over only a few years. So they're massively expanding. Their annual revenues have reached 26 billion euros, and they make about 25% of that is operating profit. They're the third largest software company in the world. Founded in 1972, it stands for Systems, Applications and Products, or more specifically System and Wendungen Product and Data and Verba, etc. So that's what it's actually called in German. This is the executive board, led by Bill McDermott, and Bill McDermott is their chief executive officer. And on the bottom left there, you can see Hasso Plattner. He's the effective head of the company, also one of the co-founders. He still chairs the company, even because he loves his work. An absolutely amazing guy, giant in the ERP industry, and I will come back to him later. SAP Clients, Airbus, Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, The Porsche Group, Audi, etc. IBM, big partner with them. They have the biggest SAP consultancy in the world. Procter & Gamble, Siemens, you name it, all the big companies are using SAP software. Even Microsoft are using SAP SuccessFactors to manage their 115,000 employees now, using Microsoft Azure as the delivery platform, which I was very surprised about, and very surprised about. So in terms of departments, we have SAP Consulting, we have SAP Software Development, Training, Quality Management, a whole load of different departments there. The kind of things you'd see in most software development companies. Here's a share price that was taken. That I took that at the same time as the diesel emissions scandal was happening during 2016. So you can see Volkswagen on the right have a share €106, but has dropped right off because of the emissions scandal. SAP has been making steady progress. So you can compare the share price 63 against 106. When you think that Volkswagen is a big car group, SAP is a software only vendor. It must be very valuable software. Ongoing revenue targets. So by 2020 they plan to be have total revenue of anything up to about 29 billion euros, and with 8 to 8.5 billion euros worth of cloud subscriptions, which they are well on track to reach. Operating profit in the region of 8.5 to 9 billion euros. So very positive story on the expansion front in that regard. So the product portfolio, they make applications, they do analytics, they have a cloud platform, they have a mobile platform, and they have database technology, SAP HANA, which we can talk about later in the next video actually. So part A, 5 types of SAP ERP, client server through service oriented architecture to software as a service. So this is the original ERP software, SAP R3. That was the kind of, on the left is what they look like, and actually, though it's become much more updated, the main interface, which is the SAP Easy Access menu, which is basically a tree, a cascading tree structure, has been there since R3 came out. And there's also a transaction window. You can shortcut the menu by typing a transaction code that takes you specifically to a page of the system. But you aren't going to be using the SAP Easy Access menu in the lab, but because we are using S4HANA, which has a different interface, tile-based interface. SAP ERP Web Services. So let's just have a look at this. So on the left you can see a typical page where for a standard order it's been created there, and you can see that there's a various prices there. On the right hand side we have an outline of SAP NetWeaver. All SAP's products are based on SAP NetWeaver, which is a platform that provides services that it can use. So for example, people integration, creating a portal for people to use to access the software, multi-channel access via different types of communications. All of that is set up in people integration. Information integration sets up business intelligence. It allows you to do analytics, but it also manages master data. So master data are all the buckets, the places where data is going to go. So if you sell something, you have to store it in a database, and master data says, I'll allocate 12 spaces in this table for that bit of data. That's what master data is. It sets up the buckets to take data. That's a simple way of looking at it. Process integration, you've got an integration broker, and that's linked to a composite application framework, CAF, on the left there. That allows you to make bespoke views into the data for a manager. You can hard code it so that they get a view that they can always look at. And then on the right you have business process management, so managing the business processes. And then there's the application program, which is Java 2 Enterprise Environment, or the latest version of that. And they have a programming language called ABAP, and the OS abstraction layer. That we don't need to go into that too much. And then there is also Lifecycle management, and that's all. Those platform services are available to all the SAP applications. They kind of run. This platform runs them. Now, I showed you the easy access menu of R3, but when they designed another product, Business by Design, they went away from that and came up with a role-based interface. And actually, we evaluated this software for teaching. The problem with it is that you can see at the top there's a marketing. So if you're a marketing manager, you can click on there, and it will take you into marketing. And only if you're a marketing person with credentials can you get into there. We decided not to teach it, because the problem with that is that to go to a different role, you have to log out of where you were and then log back in as that other person, because you don't have, for example, an accountant doesn't have access to the marketing function. So we decided that would be too difficult to teach, because we'd be continually logging in and out. The journey that SAP has done, I think we showed a video at the beginning, but it's of our course, the ESP course. So I won't delay too much on this, but you can see they started off with R3 with a web server delivering applications, and then now it's become all based on SAP NetWeaver 7, which does all these services. And then on top of that, we've got supplier relationship management, we've got composite applications, bespoke views into the data, strategic enterprise management, the SAP ECC core, which is the ERP application. And then you can see those EHP3, 4. I think when we stopped using ERP 6, ECC 6, we were up to Enhancement Pack 8. Those are add-on features that are built into the software when you first have it, and you pay a bit extra to make it live. That's all done for us by Munich, where we rent the software from. So let's have a look at SAP ERP Legacy Solution Maps and Industry Packages. So for large enterprises, SAP Business Suite you'd find that in a lot of companies still. For small and medium-sized companies, they have the choice of Business All-in-One, which is pretty much gone now, Business by Design, and Business One. And there are cloud versions of both of those. And then underneath you have Business Objects for business intelligence gathering and other things, and that's all based on SAP NetWeaver, the platform. So if this was a couple of years ago, those would be pretty much common packages in a lot of places. But SAP Business Suite has now become Business Suite for HANA or S4 HANA, which is what you're using in the labs. So for large enterprises, if things happen, ERP for large enterprises uses financials and analytics. It offers procurement and logistics, product development, manufacturing, sales and service, inventory management, human capital management, and self-service portal for corporate services and other things. Business All-in-One had some of those functions for medium-sized companies. Then you have Business One, which was an all-in-one package that had everything built into it. And so for example, financials, sales opportunities. This is an early view of it, so you have a look at that and you just see all the features that Business One offers. It might have been replaced by SAP Business by Design, but that hasn't happened. There's quite a community of Business One users. In fact, I think that's their biggest user base, Business One. Solution maps. These look like colourful diagrams, but actually you can click on any of these things and drill down to the very business processes that make, for example, financial and analytics work. You can click the map and drill right down to just the sub-processes, which that's the power of solution maps. You can to enable you to see what they can do. Business Suite had ERP, the central component, ERP, ECC6. And then on top of that, you have supply chain management, supplier relationship management, customer relationship management, and product lifecycle management, all running in SAP NetWeaver. The procure to pay process has a number of stages, so it links basically suppliers with retailers, with customers, with distributors, and the software does that. It's what we call ERP2, so extending the ERP outside of your company to your main suppliers, customers, retailers, etc. This is the menu, SAP Easy Access menu. Customer Relationship Management Solution Map, so it handles things like sales performance management, sales planning and forecasting, quotation order management, the kind of things that you'll see in the sales and distribution business process. But customer relationship management tends to be separated off and given a bit more focus in some companies. CRM interfaces. So SAP CRM is being replaced now by something called SAP C4 HANA. So customer experience for HANA is really what it is. HANA being the underlying very fast database. Supply chain management, it does things like sales order processing, billing, purchase order processing, service parts planning, supply chain risk management, and you could drill down again into any of those features. Similarly with supplier relationship management, this is a solution map, and all. Actually, I think that's written twice. That should be showing you supplier relationship management. So it does things like e-purchasing, sourcing, tendering, operational procurement. So it handles that kind of thing. It's kind of supplier making a really strong link to a supplier. Product lifecycle management handles things like drawings. So for example, here's some software in use. There's the drawing. It's a 3D drawing, CAD drawing. It's got all the bills and materials built in. It's got all the change records when things have been issued and changed built into one bit of software. And then you have bespoke packages for retail, or standard packages, sorry, for banking, for healthcare, for the media. You can have an ERP system for any of those. So at that point I want to finish this video, and because the next step is to go part B, where we're going to look at the latest ERP systems. So thank you very much.